All right, so here's something nobody talks about in the C-suite. Executive burnout is real, it's silent, and it's probably happening to you right now. I'm Janaya Narvaez. I'm a therapist, business professional, and certified personal trainer. So I've worked with enough executives to see the pattern clearly. And the pattern is this: you're burning out and you can't talk to anyone about it. You're convinced it's because you're not good enough for the job, and that is absolutely not true. I'm going to show you why in this video. Okay, so let me tell you a story. I worked with a CEO, let's call him Marcus, who was running a $50 million company. On the surface, he had it all figured out. Board meetings, crushing it. Investor calls, nailing it. Team morale seemed absolutely perfect. But in our sessions, Marcus told me something completely different. He said, "I'm falling apart and I can't tell anyone." And here's why. The moment you become a CEO, the rules change. You can't vent to your team. They need you to be stable. You can't complain to your board. They're evaluating you. You can't be real with your investors because they're assessing your competence. And your family, they do not have the context. So you sit with it alone. And here's the thing, Marcus isn't alone. Research shows that approximately 50% of CEOs experience isolation severe enough to exacerbate burnout and chronic stress. That's half. Half of the people running major organizations are silently struggling, but it gets worse. According to the Journal of Occupational Health Psychology, 26% of executives report symptoms consistent with clinical depression. That's way higher than the general population. So we're talking about a massive problem that nobody's talking about. Now, here's what's interesting from the psychological perspective. Your brain is literally designed to process stress through connection. When you're stressed, your nervous system is supposed to calm down through social support. Scientists call this co-regulation. But as an executive, you're in a position where you can't access that. You're stuck in fight or flight mode without the social connection that would bring you back to calm, and your body stays in that state for months, for years even. That's complete burnout. Okay, so let me break down why this happens. There are 3 layers. Layer 1, the isolation trap. You're surrounded by people all day, but you're isolated in a very specific way. Nobody can truly understand what you're going through because nobody else is in your position to do so. Your direct reports need you to be strong. Your peers are competitors. Your board is evaluating you, so you perform. You show up as a competent leader and you go home and fall apart. Layer 2, the psychological safety gap. This is the big one. There's a 2022 study by Carasy and colleagues in the Healthcare Management Review that found something really important. When leaders don't have a safe space to discuss their challenges, their frustrations, burnout increases significantly and their ability to adapt during uncertainty diminishes. In other words, the isolation itself is a direct driver of burnout. Psychological safety, the belief that you can speak up without fear of judgment, is the antidote. But most executives don't have that. They have advisors, coaches, consultants, but not someone who truly listens without an agenda. Layer 3, the nervous system shutdown. Here's where the neuroscience comes in. When your nervous system is in chronic stress, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for strategic thinking, creativity, and complex problem solving, literally shuts down. You're making decisions from a place of fear and survival instinct, not wisdom. That's why burned out executives often make reactive decisions they later regret. And here's the brutal truth. This isn't just affecting you. It's cascading through your entire organization. Your team picks up on your stress. They see you working 14-hour days. They notice you're short with them. They sense your anxiety. And according to research on emotional contagion, your stress becomes their stress. Your burnout becomes their burnout. What starts as your problem becomes a cultural problem. So you're not just hurting yourself, you're hurting your business. Now, let me be blunt about what happens when you ignore this. Your decision-making gets worse. You're making reactive decisions instead of strategic ones. You're saying yes to things you should say no to. You're avoiding difficult conversations. You're micromanaging because you don't trust anyone. And all of that is costing you money. Your team becomes less effective. They're stressed because you're stressed. They're not taking risks. They're not being creative. They're just trying to keep you happy, and that's not healthy. That's the opposite of what you need. Your health deteriorates. We're not just talking about feeling tired. We're talking about high blood pressure, heart disease, weakened immune function, and depression. This is real stuff. This is your body telling you something is wrong. You lose perspective. When you're burnt out, everything feels urgent. Everything feels like a crisis. You can't see the forest for the trees. You're operating from a place of scarcity instead of abundance. But here's the thing, this is all reversible. The moment you understand what's happening, the moment you realize this is a nervous system issue, not a character issue, everything changes. Because if it's a nervous system issue, there's a solution. Okay, so I want to go deeper in the research because I think this is where things get really interesting. There's a study by Karasi and colleagues in the Healthcare Management Review. They looked at how psychological safety and feeling heard relate to burnout. Here's what they found. Feeling heard, actually having someone listen to you without judgment, is a critical mediator between psychological safety and burnout. In other words, it's not just about feeling safe to speak up. It's about having someone actually listen and validate your experience. Most executives don't have that, and that's the problem. Now, from a business perspective, this is really important because this means the solution isn't complicated. You don't need to overhaul your entire life. You need to create one safe space where you can be honest. That's it. One place where you can say what you think, your doubts, your mistakes, your wins, without someone evaluating you or trying to benefit from your vulnerability. When you have that, your nervous system starts to calm down. You move out of survival mode. Your decision making improves. Your team relaxes and your business improves. And your business improves. It's actually that simple. Okay, so here's what you actually do about this. I'm going to give you 3 concrete solutions. Number 1, find your safe space. This is the foundation. You need someone, a mentor, an executive coach, a friend who can hold space for you without judgment. Here's why this matters from a nervous system perspective. Your body needs to know it's safe to be honest. When you have a confidential space where you can say what you really think, your body starts to relax. Now, as a coach, this is particularly valuable because I'm trained to help you understand not just what you're experiencing, but why you're experiencing it. But here's the real talk. Most executives don't do this. They think they should just push through. They think vulnerability is a weakness. They think asking for help means they're not qualified, and that's completely backwards. The strongest leaders are the ones who have the self-awareness to know when they need support. That's not weakness, that's strategic. Solution 2. Build your peer network. Find other executives who are willing to be real with you. Not your direct reports, not your board, but your peers, other CEOs that you know in the industry who understand what you're going through. This could be a formal peer group. It could be 2 to 3 trusted colleagues you check in with regularly. The key is that you're not the only one in the room. When you hear another CEO say, I'm scared about this decision, or I'm uncertain about this, or I don't know if I'm qualified for this, you realize you're not broken, you're human. And here's what's interesting. Most executives have this network available to them already. They just don't activate it because they're worried about looking weak. But the executives who do, they're the ones who make better decisions. They're the ones who enjoy their work. They're the ones who actually build sustainable businesses. Solution 3, redefine what leadership looks like. This is the bigger picture work. As a leader, you have the power to change the culture around your vulnerability and being open and honest with your organization, with your department. This doesn't mean oversharing with your team. It means acknowledging when you don't have all the answers, admitting mistakes, and talking about what you learned. Modeling self-care, creating psychological safety so your team feels comfortable speaking up, and normalizing conversations about stress. And here's why this matters from a business perspective. When you do this, your team becomes more creative, more engaged, and more loyal. Your retention improves, your productivity improves, your culture improves. You're not just feeling better, your business is actually performing better. You're not just feeling better, your business is actually performing better. And here's what's happening physiologically. Your nervous system has been in a state of chronic stress. When you create safety through peer connection, through communication, your nervous system finally gets the signal that it's okay to relax. Your vagus nerve starts to activate, your heart rate comes down, your cortisol level decreases, your immune system strengthens, your sleep improves, your decision-making sharpens, and I can go on and on. And here's the thing, this isn't self-indulgent. This is the most strategic move you can make as a leader because a burnt-out executive is an ineffective one. So if you're watching this and thinking, this is me, I'm that executive who's silently struggling, I want you to know something. You're not alone, and there is a way out of this. Here's what I want you to do. This week, admit to yourself that you're struggling. It's okay. Not to anyone else, just to yourself. That's the first step. Next week, reach out to someone, a mentor, a coach, a trusted peer. Just start the conversation. And within a month, create one safe space where you can be honest about what you're experiencing. That's it. That's the path out of burnout. And here's the thing, I've worked with executives who thought they couldn't do this job anymore, who were ready to walk away. And you know what happened when they created safety? When they started processing their stress, instead of just pushing through it, they didn't just survive, they thrived. They became better leaders, they made better decisions, they had more energy, and they enjoyed their work again. And their businesses improved. That's possible for you too. But it starts with one decision to stop pretending you have it all figured out. If this resonated with you, drop a comment below and tell me about it. Tell me what's the biggest thing keeping you from reaching out for support. Click on my link below, the Breakthrough Brief, to get access to weekly insights on leadership, health, wellness, and business. And if you know another executive who needs to hear this, someone who's silently struggling, please share this video with them. You might be the one person who helps them realize they're not alone. I'll see you in the next one.